Good morning. Welcome to the University of Utah. My name is Chris Nelson, the Communications Director. Just a couple of things before we get started. Last Thursday was our last media briefing, and it was the first opportunity for President Watkins to address the media on the tragic death of Lauren McCluskey. Today, President Watkins will provide more details on the independent review and also share some steps she's taken to continue to strengthen campus safety and security at the University of Utah. Today, we're also joined by John T. Nielsen, an attorney and former commissioner of the Utah Department of Public Safety, as well as Keith Squires, who is an executive in the private sector and also a former commissioner of public safety in Salt Lake for the state of Utah. President Watkins will share details of both of their roles in the independent review in just a few moments. So with that, let me just again reiterate that the university remains in deep mourning for the senseless and tragic loss of Lauren McCluskey, and we remain committed to providing regular updates and transparency to the media and to the public, and particularly to our campus community about the things going on across campus. So with that, I'll turn it over to President Watkins. And former commissioners, why don't you join us as well?
Thank you very much, Chris, and thank you all for being here this morning. Last week, I said I would be establishing 2 independent reviews of how we responded to Lauren McCluskey. As Chris stated, we want to do our best to share in an open and transparent way all that we can related to this tragedy. Today, I'm announcing the team that I have asked to conduct these reviews, and I'm also providing a broad overview of my charge to them. In addition, I would like to share several immediate actions we are taking to improve safety and security on our campus. John T. Nielsen, who is here with me today, has agreed to serve as the chair of the review team, which will begin its work immediately. John T., as many of you know, is a former commissioner of the Utah Department of Public Safety and a retired attorney. He is highly respected and has years of relevant experience in law enforcement and public safety. The review team also includes Keith Squires, who is joining us today, and like John, he's a former commissioner of the Utah Department of Public Safety. The review team also includes Sue Reisling, executive director of the International Association of Campus Law Enforcement Administrators. I have charged the review team with 2 directives. First, conduct a complete review of all aspects of how the university's Department of Public Safety responded to this situation. The review will include policies, procedures, protocols, and actions taken by individual officers, administrators, and our leadership. I appreciate that Chief Brophy and his officers are as committed as we are to learning anything we can to improve our response and make our campus police services a model for the nation. I have asked the team to complete its review of the Department of Public Safety by December 17th. I've also asked the team to conduct a review of overall campus safety. That may include working with our Campus Safety Task Force and other appropriate entities to ensure that we are doing all we can to protect our students, staff, faculty, and visitors. This will be an inclusive effort that will involve students, staff, administrators charged with ensuring student safety. I want to encourage anyone with concerns about campus safety to participate in this process. I have given this team through spring 2019 to finish its review and make recommendations on additional safety measures that are needed. I want to be clear that the review team will operate with full autonomy and will have available to it all of the resources and access it needs to do a thorough, in-depth examination. I have asked John T. to give me periodic, in-person updates about the team's progress. We are not, however, waiting for the team to complete their work to take actions aimed at improving safety at the University of Utah. With that in mind, we are announcing the following actions. The Housing and Residential Education Program will evaluate its policies and practices. It will also provide staff and student leaders with additional in-depth training on how to respond to and manage routine and emergency situations and resources available to them. The Office of the Dean of Students will increase communication and training for faculty and staff about the resources that are available to help our students. The Office of Equal Opportunity will provide additional training and reporting guidelines across the campus. The university has and will continue to make a robust investment in security cameras and lighting across our campus. Commuter Services will provide more communication to students about options to park in A parking lots. These are closer to campus buildings and available after 3 p.m. The Department of Public Safety has already given detailed training to its detectives on case management to improve consistency and level of detail in reporting. The Department of Public Safety is evaluating its practices to provide more timely and efficient response services, as well as how it prioritizes cases. It is very important that our students know that I have confidence in our Department of Public Safety, and that our students and staff and faculty should not hesitate to reach out to our department as needed. Along with these actions, I've asked other campus entities to review their policies, procedures, and training that relate to safety and security. As additional steps we could take now become apparent, we will work to implement them quickly. I want to be clear that safety on our campus is a top priority for me and for my administration. This two-part review is a critical aspect of that. I want you to know that we are keeping the McCluskey family informed of our actions, including today's announcements. We have committed to Lauren's family that we will do everything we can to learn from this in the hope of preventing such a tragedy from happening again on our campus. I'd now like to invite John T. Nielsen to share a few comments on behalf of the review team.
Thank you, President Watkins. I'm honored and humbled to have been asked to head the investigation of this very sad and troubling event leading up to the death of Lauren McCluskey. While I never met her, I've been so impressed with the tributes that have been made that have characterized her life and her amazing academic and athletic achievements. What a remarkable young woman she was. Her tragic death deeply saddens me personally, as it has our entire community. I've accepted this responsibility with the firm understanding that it must be done correctly and thoroughly. And I pledge my best efforts along with my colleagues and make a commitment to Lauren's family and the entire University of Utah campus that we will do everything that is necessary to learn what occurred and why. We must do that to honor Lauren and to prevent this kind of a tragedy from happening in the future. I pledge a thorough investigation. We'll go where the facts lead us, and I appreciate President Watkins' insistence that this be an independent review and that we will have the resources available to us to do our job and the full cooperation of all the university personnel we deem necessary to fulfill our charge. We've also created an anonymous email box that can be used to share with us information or comments about both the McCluskey case and campus safety. I'll give you those email addresses in just a moment. I'm pleased to be joined in this effort by two very experienced law enforcement executives, and I'm firmly convinced that we have the collective expertise and experience to meet the challenge of this investigation. The addresses of those email addresses where people can indicate a confidential communication with the investigative team are as follows. They are under a site called Incognito, and the addresses are as follows. It's Answer Me, ANSR point me /campus safety. That's with a capital C and a capital S. The other one is ansr.me, M-E, /U, that's capital U, department, capital D, capital P, capital S, review with a capital R. And we'll include those in the press release so that you can circulate them to people who might need them. Be happy to entertain any questions. Commissioner, do you have anything you would like to add?
No, sir, thank you.
All right, thank you. President?
I think I would just want to note, this is, of course, a very sad time at the University of Utah. And even as we grieve, we are aware that our grief pales in comparison to that of the McCluskey family. Our hearts go out to them. So now we could open up to questions. And
President,
Actually, if you just say your name and affiliation, we're picking this up so we can repost it on YouTube so folks can watch stuff.
Dan Rascon with Channel 2 News. President, maybe you could share with us, how did you go about choosing these two individuals and why these two?
So remember, there are 3 individuals on this review, and the third, Sue Reisling, is not able to be with us today. So as we thought about what we're trying to accomplish with this review, it is an independent and fully external review. So we sought individuals with significant law enforcement expertise and deep knowledge, both of law enforcement in general and of law enforcement at university campuses. So between these 3 individuals, that expertise is represented. These are individuals who are well respected and deeply experienced and accomplished in their fields.
Mr. Nielsen, what will some of your first steps be? Oh, sorry. Michael Locklear with 2 News. Mr. Nielsen, what are going to be some of your first steps to getting this investigation underway?
Thank you. This investigation will commence immediately following this press conference. Commissioner Squires and I have an appointment with the police department. We intend to require of them to provide us with all of the relevant information that we will need. We'll give that information to them. We'll require them to assemble that into 3 binders that we can review. I would anticipate that would occur within the next week. The review will then begin to review those documents. Once that has been reviewed, we will submit a series of questions to the police department that we want answered. Now, this will not be just with the University Police Department. We intend to reach out to other law enforcement agencies, and our colleague from the Midwest, who has extensive experience with these kinds of things, will be very much involved. She's going to share with us information that she knows about from other universities and what they might do. So I would commit to you that this is going to start right now and continue. The timetable of this is through the middle part of December. I think we can complete it before that time, but we're going to start immediately.
Channel 2, can you tell us kind of what are you going to be looking for? I mean, what are you going to be digging into? What kind of questions do you want answered as a result of this? Because there's been a lot of talk out there that somebody may have dropped the ball on this.
I hesitate to even speculate about what may or may not have happened. Obviously, that will be part of the review. But questions that have been raised in the media, I think, as to whether or not Lauren's concerns were taken seriously, whether or not there was the appropriate report to the parole board, when the knowledge of who this guy was came available. Those kinds of questions are things that we will want to know about, and I don't know what the answers are. And we won't know that until we get into the documents and the interview process. And I think they will become apparent rather rapidly.
Peter Seymour, KSL Radio. Commissioner Squires, can you give us a few more details about your aspect of the investigation?
Sure. For me, being asked to be a part of this team was an opportunity, and I was especially impressed by the fact that President Watkins, the administration of the university, the police department, and all stakeholders are genuine in wanting to identify those things that maybe didn't work out the way that they were supposed to. If that happened, use that for an opportunity going forward to ensure that this campus can be as secure and everyone on it as safe as possible. So for me, my experience, I've had times in my career as commissioner of DPS where sometimes I've had to ask for an outside set of eyes to come look at what we're doing in a specific area. And that's a value to me, because sometimes when you're dealing with it day in and day out, things you might miss that are routine can be better identified by those who are looking at it from a different lens.
President, again, Dan Resco, Channel 2. Can you kind of break it down? I'm a little confused maybe as far as you had said that you wanted 2 separate independent investigations for the university. DPS is not involved in this at all, correct? Is that correct? Department of Public Safety is not
Correct.
involved in these 2 investigations.
Correct.
So who's heading up? One was going to be on the police department, one was going to be on campus security. So who's doing what, and who's overseeing what, and what teams do you have?
Very good. So thank you for the opportunity to clarify that. And you are absolutely right. There are 2 reviews. We have a single team of 3 experts leading those 2 reviews under the guidance overall of John T. Nelson. So he will provide overall guidance, and our 2 additional members, Keith Squires and Sue Reisling, will also provide assistance. So the 2 reviews are first focused on the actions, protocols, policies of the University Police Department, and the second on the longer view of campus safety and security overall. So all 3 reviewers engaged, but kind of conducted as 2 separate independent reviews.
So far since the murder, have you seen any red flags here that concern you about campus security when it comes to housing or responding? I know there's already been some incidences here on campus that have been reported. Are students being told enough or trained enough? Or what is your reaction?
So very good question. Thank you for that. And let me be clear. I think the University of Utah is a safe campus. I know the University of Utah is a safe campus. We have to take a perspective that the University of Utah is very large. A large student body, staff, faculty, patients, and engagement with community. It is in fact a city that is in the context of a very dynamic and changing city of Salt Lake. So our work in campus safety, we always need to be looking at ourselves, learning, and improving on campus safety. That work is not done. And I think the University of Utah has a strong commitment to us being a safe campus and continuing to self-evaluate and be a safe campus with new actions. And I mentioned a few earlier that pertain to areas like housing and what our housing can do to be safer. For example, examining our policies around guests, looking at whether our students prop open doors and let in people that they don't know. So there are actions that are underway now. The training aspect that you mentioned for our entire campus is very, very important for our students, our faculty, and our staff, and frankly, our community members as well, to know about safety on campus and to be trained. So that work is underway, and we are not waiting to the conclusion of this review to take action when we see the need.
President Andrew Reeser, ABC4 News. You mentioned that you spoke with the McCluskey family about these new measures. Can you tell us what they've said? Are they supportive? Do they feel that these are going to be, in terms of more lighting, better security cameras on campus? Have they indicated that they feel that will help the situation? What have they said about this?
So let me clarify just a little bit on that. The university is very committed to staying connected to the McCluskey family, to listening to their concerns and respecting their right to know what we're doing as an institution. So we are working very effectively at trying to be a good communicator in partnership with the McCluskeys. I think as we have talked with them, they are very interested in the university learning what's possible from this event and taking actions that improve safety and security on campus.
President Ladd Egan, KSL5 News. Even though this independent investigation is ongoing, what's your message right now for students on campus who may find themselves in a situation where they are being harassed and they're scared to come forward, they worry what will be done, how it will be dealt with? What do you want to tell students?
Yes. We want to tell students to use the resources of this institution that are here to support them. And we want to make students as aware as we can of those resources, to invest in training, and to assure students and parents that the University of Utah is a safe institution that cares deeply about their well-being, and that there are many resources in the institution available in support of them.
What about specifically staffing issues with the police department to be able to get through these types of complaints more quickly if a student is feeling harassed?
So a couple of things about that. Certainly, we expect that the review process will help us understand some of those issues, and we will respond to them. We have also had an active campus safety task force for the last year and a half or so. That task force has made many recommendations, and the institution has acted on them. Among them, increased investment in resources for victim advocacy, for training, and for outreach that supports our students.
Emily Anderson, the Daily Utah Chronicle. A number of housing employees have told us that housing promised them last year after the shooting that they would change their emergency protocol, but none of that happened. Do you know if housing made any changes after last year's shooting?
I think I'm not really well prepared to answer that question. I do think that there have been actions that did respond to our safety protocols. I think the emergency alert system, for example, there have been investments made. So I think there are some actions. I would probably say that's a good question and defer to my colleague Chris, who can provide a little bit more detail.
Courtney with the Salt Lake Tribune. I'm just wondering what trainings already exist for staff and students in the police department. Do any of those focus on domestic violence, and how will these new trainings be different from those?
Yes. So I do know that there are many trainings available to students, staff, police department members that do focus on these relevant issues. And again, for specific detail, I'd refer you to Chris Nelson, who can help provide that.
I'd also point out, we can talk offline, that the letter U .edu was an outcome of the safety task force. This is where a lot of the resources on campus are chronicled, and my team and Lisa, we can correct that as well. Good. Let's go here.
Tiffany Justice 2 News, President Ruth, how do you plan to keep students and faculty members notified and informed about the new immediate actions that you're taking, that you plan on working on?
I think we will use a variety of tools to keep our students, faculty, staff, and the broader community aware of these actions to promote safety and security. I have communicated directly with families, with parents, broadly. Others in the institution will help and join me with that. As Chris Nelson just mentioned, the Safe Utah website is a key place. We will use staff throughout the institution to help us share those messages. In a big institution, we need many tools for communication and frequent repetition.
You will come back to those students. Okay.
Sydney Recardo with Univision 32. I assume you've talked to students and heard some of their concerns. From your perspective, what are the concerns? I know you talked about what you hope to do to help them, but what are they telling you?
So in a variety of ways, our students are communicating about different things pertaining to safety. Certainly our students, in many cases, are aware of the safety investments that have been made on campus over the last year and a half, from security cameras to increased lighting, and it's important that our students do know about those things. Our students are concerned about being able to park near buildings, and that is part of what's being addressed. So many of the things that are being acted on, as I have just described, have come to us through our students, and we anticipate that this process on the campus safety review will continue to surface those things.
Peter Seymour, again, KSL News Radio. What's the status of Chief Brophy?
Thank you for asking. Chief Brophy is in our leadership and is an important part of our leadership. I think an element of us spreading the word of assurance to students of our safe campus is that we have a strong police force that we have confidence in, and they are responsive to the needs of our students, staff, and faculty.
He wasn't here today. Has he given you any thoughts as to these independent investigations, part of which will cover his department?
Chief Brophy has expressed strong support for the independent review. Because we're today announcing an independent review, no members of the University Division of Public Safety are here with us.
Thank you. We have the press release with Scott Whitmore.
Commissioner Squires, Scott McCain, Fox 13. Who's going to come in and do the actual nitty-gritty? Who's going to come in and question the police, and maybe some domestic violence experts that come forward and talk about where we're going with this moving forward?
Well, as John mentioned just a few minutes ago, he and I will be starting that ourselves right now, but I expect that we will employ assistance from others that from time to time, based on their subject matter expertise, or we have the full resources available to us that we'll take advantage of.
I outside agencies, different investigators, people you work with?
I would say that that's all can be a possibility, and I appreciate that, because if I'm going to conduct this in my role, I want to make sure that I know as much as I can, and there's others out there that could have that information, so we will take advantage of that.
Last one. Garn Mejia, Telemundo. Well, I know you kind of addressed a little bit about the students, but I spoke with about 2 students during Lauren's vigil, and they both mentioned that they kind of don't know sometimes when they're in those difficult situations. Is this really domestic violence? Could this really turn into something dangerous? If I call police, will they even take it seriously, or will I just look silly? Is there a message that you have for those students that don't know if something is heading in the wrong way, but it doesn't feel right?
Yes, I think the strongest message we would have is reach out to the experts on our campus. If in doubt, reach out. We will help, we will respond, and we will make this very clear to our students, the variety of ways they can seek help and provide that training in very clear focus. Thank you.